What's good? What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Urban Platform Speaks. Make sure to like and subscribe as you tune into the channel, check out the content. And with that being said, man, I want to speak on these statements that Stephen A. Smith made about LeBron James, right? And I think in mainstream media, I think especially Stephen A. Smith, he do himself a disservice when he not giving honest takes about sports. And I understand like people have their own opinions, right? But it's just obvious that Stephen A. Smith be lying when he talk about LeBron James. Um, and that just really just messes up his credibility. I think, and maybe credibility to these guys in mainstream media is not important. That's why I like to listen to people who really giving honest takes about anything, whether it's LeBron James. Like everybody don't have to agree about LeBron James, but if you make a statement about LeBron James or whatever basketball player you make a statement about, or football, baseball, at least make it your honest opinion, number one, and then be able to back it up. Like some of the things that Stephen A. Smith say, I don't even think Stephen A. Smith believe, and because people can definitely push back. And then when Stephen A. Smith get pushed back, then that's when he get loud and dramatic and try to make it seem like you don't know, like the other people don't know what they're talking about. Like he's the authority on it, right? And like I said, his credibility is just, he don't really have any credibility. And so what I'm referring to is these statements right here that I'm about to play, these comments that Stephen A. Smith made on LeBron James. And I'm just going to come back and break down why these statements are not true.
LeBron James has a lot to be proud of. I think this year was a testament, a final stamp on the level of greatness that he has put on display for over 23 seasons now. I need to be one of the first people to make sure that I say that. LeBron James had never in his career been a third option until this year. Yet he accepted it and was still the leader and the winner that he was. You needed him to play center, he played center. You needed him to play power forward, he played power forward. Needed him to rebound instead of score, he did it. You needed him to assist instead of score, he did it. You needed him to score instead of assisting.
So what Stephen A. Smith basically is saying that whatever you needed from LeBron James, that's what he gave you, right? Not true. LeBron James, and not just this year, but throughout his career, it's not been true. It hasn't been true. Teams has needed LeBron James being the face of the league. Like whatever team I just made a video about LeBron James when he played at he was in Miami 2011. He needed to be in that series more of a scorer. He wasn't that. He needed to assert himself against smaller basketball players. He didn't do that. He needed to develop a low post game, in order to take his game to the next level. He didn't do that, right? And so I think, in my opinion, LeBron James, over the course of his career, has demonstrated that he brings a certain skill set to the table. And that skill set is going to be what he's going to fall back on. That's what he's going to rely on. If you need him to do anything outside of the skill set that LeBron James have, then he not going to do that. He going to refer to other basketball players. Like he did, like I said, he teamed up with Chris Bosh because Chris Bosh had a low post game. He surrounded himself with jump shooters because he didn't himself, he wasn't a 3-point shooter or a jump shooter. All great basketball players are like Swiss Army knives. Like they can do it. They can score at all three levels. And throughout LeBron James' career, everybody has been saying, well, back off of him, giving him jumper. The Spurs did it when they beat him when he was at Cleveland. The Mavericks did it when he was at Miami. Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce said, yeah, just give him the jumper. Even in international play, when I saw a team from Africa back up off of LeBron James, I think they was a Nigerian national team or something like that, and they backed up off on. Like it's well known that LeBron James, like he had big holes in his game. So for Stephen A. Smith to come on and say that, this guy will give you what you need when you need it, It's not that. I remember watching Michael Jordan when they played against in a championship game when they played against Utah Jazz, and they needed, they were trailing Utah Jazz coming down a stretch, and the Bulls needed a stop or a steal. And Karl Malone, they threw the ball in the low post to Karl Malone. The guy, I think, cut through the low post. He cut, and Michael Jordan was playing. So Michael Jordan, trailed the guy who was cutting past Karl Malone. But Michael Jordan doubled back and stole the ball from Karl Malone. They needed that play right then and there. Michael Jordan was a scorer, but they didn't need his scoring right then and there. They needed a steal. And that's what I'm talking about when it comes to like leadership and being a great basketball player. It's not just like giving them what you can give them, but it's giving them it's giving the team what they need when they need it. And Michael, that was an example of what Michael Jordan did. And a lot of, not just him, but I just remember Mike getting that steal when they needed that steal. So let's get back to what Stephen A. Smith saying.
About it. He did that. You needed him to defend. He did that. You needed him to run the show. He did that. And at 41 years of age, in his 23rd season, he's still in better shape than 95% of them.
All right. So, and you know what? And I don't even want to talk about his conditioning, right? Because of all of the rumors and stuff surrounding like why he is in the condition that he's in at 41 years old. So that's another thing, that's a whole nother video. But when he talked about 41 years old also, I mean, I don't know, man. I just don't get Stephen A. Smith's statements, especially, on one hand, he tried to say that he don't like LeBron James, and then he come out and make these untrue statements. Like, if you don't like somebody, you don't have to lie on them, right? But you still have to, I would expect you to be honest about the situation. And for Stephen A. Smith to have been around basketball for so long and come up with these, these takes and make it seem like I don't like LeBron James, but I'm still gonna give him his props. Make me think that the whole thing with LeBron James and Stephen A. Smith probably was just like a I don't know, like a what is it? Like a setup, like all a act or all a put on. You try to act like you don't like somebody, but then you still go out of your way to lie for them and tell, put a narrative out there, propping them up, knowing that it's not true. When you look at not mainstream media, but when you look at all these different podcasts, and I just seen a podcast with, what was the guy named? Tim Hardaway, and who was it? Brandon. Oh no, Leslie. I forgot the guy's name. He played for Detroit and they won a championship. And both of those guys just said that they would pick Dwayne Wade over LeBron James, right? And I'm, like, what GOAT basketball player or somebody that's like, and Dwayne Wade is not even in, like, when you talk about GOATs or the greatest ever, you bring Dwayne Wade up with the greatest, like the greatest, like, small forward, he's in that conversation, but not in that GOAT conversation. But then you would pick Dwayne Wade. These guys say that they would pick Dwayne Wade over LeBron James. Like, guys who played the game at that level know, they all think it's a joke. You can't get these guys to lie about it. And that's the thing I like about these different platforms, man. They're not hating on LeBron James. Leslie Hunter, that's his name. Leslie Hunter and James Hart. I mean, is his name Hart? It's not James Hart. Tim Hardaway. My fault. Tim Hardaway. They not lying on LeBron James. You're not going to get everybody to lie on LeBron James. At some point in time, you got to believe that, okay, all these people coming out and saying LeBron James is not that, it got to be some truth to it. And so I give those guys who played the game and at a high level with Kobe and Mike and, and some of those guys even played against LeBron James and they was like, no, he's not that. You don't even have to play with LeBron James to, in my opinion, to know that he's not that. You just watch and you see that the effort that was put forth by some of the greats in the past is not what you're getting from LeBron James. And I don't care, you know, like that longevity, like Stephen A. Smith mentioned that he was 43 years old and been in the league for 23 years. That longevity to me is just, I don't know, just Vince Carter played for, you know, for around 20 years. So he's not in that GOAT conversation. I just don't get it. I don't get it. I think, like I said earlier in the video, I don't think it's even about credibility. They don't even, like they don't even care about credibility. They just putting stuff out there. And no matter what people say, I don't know. I think they writing history the way they want it to be written. Because later on down the line, like all these podcasts and everybody, all the naysayers, all that stuff will be scrubbed from the internet. So what's going to be standing is what like somebody like Stephen A. Smith or what these major networks say, and that's what's the word going to be. It's going to be like LeBron James was the greatest, and I guess people not going to have no choice but to believe, because they're not going to have no proof. So that's my take on it. Make sure to like and subscribe. Also, don't forget to leave a comment, and I'll check you all out in the next video. Peace.